Thank you so much, Rabbi Mark. And thank you so much to IJS for holding this space for practice. IJS has made such a huge difference in my life as a Jewish person. So just endless gratitude for IJS. And it has been a while since I led the sit. It was actually during the exact same Parsha last year, which I didn't do that intentionally, just worked out that way. Um, so it was interesting in preparing for today for me to reflect on what's similar and what's different a year later. So this Parsha, Parshat Naso, is, I think, a very busy Parsha in terms of describing work and roles and actions and service, and the offerings regarding the Mishkan and the tent of meeting and who's going to do what, carry what, offer what. And then there's this sudden pause in the midst of all of this, where God instructs the priests in blessing the people, which we know in our liturgy as the priestly blessing. May Yud He Vav He bless you and keep you. May Yud He Vav He's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May Yud He Vav He's presence be near you and grant you peace. It's like this suddenly remembered pause in the midst of all this busyness and planning to remember that we are blessed, and it lands on the word shalom, peace, which really stuck out to me right now. Just being, to me, so emblematic of how I think many of us relate to peace in general in our lives as kind of an, oh, right, that, an afterthought, an extra, something that we have to restore after we've lost it. And I think that we can get into this unhelpful habit of applying peace or applying mindfulness as a kind of a temporary, momentary fix. I work in healthcare. I work at a major hospital here in New York City as a mindfulness teacher. I work with patients. That's my day job, which is an amazing day job. Um, and a lot of patients, come to learn meditation for symptom reduction, as a tool to help us in the moment feel better when we're feeling anxiety or when we're in pain or when we can't sleep, almost like taking a pill. And though, mindfulness can certainly function that way as an on the spot, restoration, and certainly better than no mindfulness practice at all, to bring it into our lives that way. I think that it's different than having peace and loving awareness as the foundation, not just an on the spot go to when we need it. So in this Parsha, every group has its own specific role. Every person has their own offering. Just as each of us in our daily lives, we have our own role, our own offering, giving what we can to the creation of holy temples in our lives. And so what if all of our effort and doing and service was grounded in peace, in loving awareness? Not as something we suddenly remember after we become aware of its painful absence, but as the intention that we connect with before we jump into the tasks of the day, before we have a hard conversation, before we read the news. And especially in our world right now, as our hearts are breaking for Israel and Palestine, and as we witness the violence unfolding there, and we want to serve, we want to help, we want to offer what we can for the building of lasting peace. How can our showing up, how we serve, how we talk about it, how can that be grounded in peace, not in fear or in hatred? So, today in our meditation, we're going to cultivate this peaceful foundation in us. We'll practice a meditation now to ground our bodies and our hearts and our minds in peace. So, I'd like to invite you now to find a comfortable posture for your meditation practice. You can choose to sit, stand, lie down, whatever's needed. You can allow your eyes to close or your gaze to soften with your eyes gently open. And settling in. Beginning to bring attention to the body sitting here, to notice any places of holding or tension, maybe extra effort left over, and just seeing if there's anything you can invite to release, to let go, to ease, softening the jaw, softening the shoulders, the belly. Anything extra that you don't need to just rest here. And bringing your attention to something that helps to ground you, to stabilize you, that lets you know you're here. Maybe the soles of the feet on the ground, or the hands in the lap. Or the sensations of the breath as the body breathes in and the body breathes out. So finding a grounding sensation for you, whatever that may be, and resting here for a few moments as we settle in. If at any time during this meditation you feel lost or overwhelmed, you can always choose to come back to this grounding place for you, letting go of the instructions and caring for yourself as you see fit. Taking some time now to check in with this body, to notice what is present in the body now. Exploring the different sensations in the body as they arise and pass. Pleasant sensations, unpleasant sensations, neutral. And as you explore the sensations present in the body, as they unfold moment by moment, seeing how you can invite a peaceful, relationship to these sensations, if you can hold them in a peaceful awareness. And the body doesn't have to feel peaceful or feel pleasant, allowing space for discomfort, for tension, for pain, and seeing if we can let go of judgment, of struggle, battling what is here. Bringing care and compassion to this body just as it is. If you notice any particular areas of the body where there's tension or pain, if you like, you can bring a hand or both hands to that part of the body as a caring gesture. Feeling the warmth from the palms, the care and kindness flowing from the palms, blessing the body with peace. And checking in now with the heart space, with any emotions that are present within you. Gently naming or noting how you're feeling right now. Anxiety, sadness, irritation, neutral. And again, if this feels overwhelming, not right for you, it's fine to shift back to a grounding place in your body. And if it is workable, seeing if you can continue to explore whatever emotion is present right now. Whether this emotion is wanted or unwanted, pleasant or unpleasant. Exploring how we can bring a peaceful attitude to whatever we're experiencing right now. Not needing to feel peaceful, not needing to feel pleasant. Seeing how I can be in a peaceful, loving relationship with whatever is arising in this moment. Letting go of struggle, of judgment. And checking in now with the mind, noticing what the mind is like, what the attention is like, what thoughts are present, what's on my mind. Meeting these thoughts with a respectful acknowledgement, not needing to make them go away, greeting them peacefully. Hello, I see you. If the mind is busy or if the mind is sleepy, noticing that without judgment or struggle, just how it is right now. And bringing your attention back to your grounding anchor, to your breath or your body sitting, and resting here just as you are, observing as experience unfolds in the body, heart, and mind, meeting our experience with peacefulness, with kindness. We'll sit silently for a few minutes. And if you get distracted, bringing awareness to whatever is arising now, this thought, emotion, sensation, exploring how we can be in a peaceful, loving relationship with whatever is happening right now. We'll sit silently for another minute or so. Bringing your attention back to your breath, to your body's presence here and now. Closing with some words from Thich Nhat Hanh. Let us be at peace with our bodies and our minds. Let us return to ourselves and become wholly ourselves. Let us be aware of the source of being common to us all and to all living things. Evoking the presence of the great compassion, let us fill our hearts with our own compassion towards ourselves and towards all living beings. Let us pray that we ourselves cease to be the cause of suffering to each other. With humility, with awareness of the existence of life and of the suffering that are going on around us, let us practice the establishment of peace in our hearts and on earth. As you're ready, you can invite your eyes to gently open, raising your gaze. Thank you for your practice.
Thank you so much, Emily, for that beautiful, beautiful meditation for cultivating shalom and connecting it with this week's Torah portion, Naso, and the blessing of shalom, Birkat Shalom. Friends, invite us to bring that into our practice of supporting each other, those of us who are in mourning or observing a yard site, to seal our practice together with the Mourner's Kaddish, inviting those who are in mourning or observing a yard site or carrying grief at this time. If you'd like to add the name or names of those you are remembering or holding in your heart today in the chat box, you're welcome to do so now or after we have recited Kaddish. And I invite you to join me in rising in body or in spirit for Kaddish. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah. Bi'alma divra chirute, bi'amlich malchute. B'chayechon, Yomechon, B'chaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala,
Bizman Karib,
Yimru, Amen. Yehi
Yehi Shmei Rabba, Rach Le'olam Le'omei Amen. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitraman, Yiseh, Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Yedikusha Brichu,
Min Kol
Hata, Shir, Ushbeshata Benechemata, Tamiran Bama,
Amen.
Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemayim, V'chayim Aleinu V'el Kol Yisrael, Al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Imru Amen. Asa Shalom B'Imamam, Asa Shalom Aleinu V'el Kol Yisrael, Kol Yoshvei Tevel, Imru Amen.
Amen. Friends, thanks so much for joining us today. I want to thank our teacher for today, Emily Herzlin, for leading us so beautifully. And you're invited to stay on if you're like, and we were able for a few minutes of conversation with Emily about the teaching, about the practice today, a chance to reflect on the practice. We want to thank Sally Silverman, Barbara Shmueli, and Sarah Lynn and Jean Tabachnik for sponsoring our practice today in memory of their mom, Gladys Tabachnik. Zichrona Libracha, may her memory be a blessing in your lives and through the merit of our practice today, a blessing in this world. Thanks to Adi Stein, as always, for holding our tech space with skill and grace. And for those who are leaving us now, you're welcome to join us tomorrow. Cantor Care Spencer Shapiro will lead us in practice as we sit into Shabbat. We always have a lovely Friday meditation at the usual time, 12:30 to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Please join us to enter into Shabbat together. And again, a reminder that next week will be led all week by Rabbi Sam Feinsmith to stand or sit at Sinai for the week. And if you have a question for Emily, please do put it in the chat box, and I'll keep an eye out for that. I'm also going to put into the chat box Emily's website, where you can check out her work and her writing and her teaching. Emily, I just had a conversation with our teacher, Sheila Peltz-Weinberg, a few minutes ago before we started, where I noticed that my inclination to scare myself, that is, when I'm not feeling peaceful, to look for something that would scare me so that I could realize, oh, that's not happening, and that I could feel peaceful. So I thought this teaching for Nassau, inspired by the priestly blessing, which ends, as you said, with shalom, about starting from a place of shalom instead of from a place of fear, was really like right on target for me. But I wanted to ask you about that inclination that I have, and probably many do, maybe it's universal, to scan for danger. In terms of thinking about, I imagine that you're pretty familiar, at least on a rudimentary level, with the neuroscience of this, right? The part of the brain that is trying to protect us by looking out for danger, even if whether it's imaginary or real. And that the kind of state of shalom that you were describing in a way is that other part of the brain, which says, I'm just going to put all my defenses down, right? I'm going to be completely vulnerable and imagine that I am safe enough right now to lay it all down and be wide open, right? So I guess that's my question for you is, you led us beautifully in coming to that place. I guess the question I have is, what happens when that danger instinct kicks in that place, and sort of think, wait a minute, I'm going to get pounced on here. This is too vulnerable. What do you think?
It's part of our wiring. It's going to be there. I don't think that it's, something that we should actually be trying to get rid of, because it does serve an important purpose in our survival at times, and it's part of being human. I find that the sensations that come up, the experience of that, it's so uncomfortable, it's so painful, that my inclination often is to get really angry at it, and to really just, especially, I don't know if you experience this as a mindfulness practitioner, that inner voice of like, I shouldn't be feeling this way. I've been meditating all this time. I should be calm. I shouldn't feel this way, which, does not help the situation one bit. So I guess the way I've learned, and that I try to relate to that when it comes up, is with compassion and understanding for, the intentions behind that nervous system response. It isn't to torture me. It's actually trying to keep me safe.
Right.
That's what it's trying to do. It's just kind of confused sometimes, because we don't usually need that level of reactivity for the kinds of situations that, where those experiences come up. So I find that just trying to relate to that totally human physical reaction from a place of, oh, you're trying to take care of me right now, body. You're trying to take care of me right now, body. But let's find a different way. Let's find a way that's going to work right now.
It occurred to me while I was thinking, I never really understood why people like horror movies, or thrillers. And then I realized that oh, that's, people, because then that can exercise that part of ourselves where I'm really protected and on guard, right? But I'm actually just sitting here watching this. It's not really happening. It helped me understand that, why people might be drawn to that. There's a really good question here from Lori about, for those of us who are hypervigilant, but who tend to quickly quell any fears by diminishing, dismissing, or deflecting fear and worry, it seems like allowing the fear and feeling the feelings in all their difficult depth and breadth is the necessary practice to reach the other side of shalom and shalem. I'm not sure what that is. Would you please speak to the practice of allowing the pain rather than trying to make ourselves feel peace, subjugating the truer feelings and making them stuck? That's a really good question.
I mean, Lori, I think you kind of answered your own question.
Yeah.
I couldn't really say it better than that. I guess maybe to say a little more, the way that we avoid, our fear or whatever those difficult emotions may be, can take more energy and effort and drain us more than the process of turning towards the experience with mindfulness and compassion. That habit energy of, get away from this, not okay, not okay, it does create more agitation in the mind and the heart and body, and actually, as you said, keeps us stuck. But it is really hard to make a different choice, because it's so ingrained, again, from that, evolutionary physiological um, uh, perspective. But a practice like mindfulness is really all about making that space in us for discomfort, so that discomfort isn't so threatening. So that discomfort, we learn, doesn't um, doesn't make us lose it so much every time, that it just becomes part of being a human, and that we didn't do something wrong to feel this way. It's not, because we did something wrong or bad, just, oh, this is being human right now. So it becomes less threatening and easier to meet and deal with, and move along with. So yeah, I think it's so important, and it's easy, and it's an easy trap to fall into in spiritual practice, to use our practice to avoid discomfort, to just have those amazing, pleasant, wonderful, peak experiences. Um, but I just think so important to remember that the difficult is equally as important in our spiritual journey and practice.
Yeah, that you pointed out, I think that the tip off when we're getting into trouble is that I shouldn't be feeling this, right? Or I wish I weren't feeling this. And that just winds up, I know I had this myself last night, wow, really just tied up in knots and not able to will myself out of it. So I actually wanted to ask you this, well, two quick questions. One is about the blessing in the Parsha. It's the, the three-part blessing that the priests are enjoined to bless the people, which ends by Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may God's face be lifted to you, and may God grant you shalom, which is the kind of the ultimate blessing of the three stages of blessing there. I just want to invite you to talk a little bit about, your work in a medical setting, where of course people do have reason to fear, right? There's a lot. Their fears and anxieties are grounded, I assume, in legitimate. They're not imagining it. They're there for a reason. So how do you work with people in that setting? And for those of us who are struggling either with illness for ourselves or loved ones, how do you apply this, would you say?
Do we have like an hour
It's
to talk about
I usually save my big open-ended questions for that 2 minutes. I gave you a whole 6 minutes here.
Oh, great.
It's very, very expansive time in which to answer that. We could just get started because you're going to be back anyway.
Right.
We don't have to solve it right
Well,
now.
I mean, like I said, a lot of people come to meditation with an idea that it's going to cure whatever they're, coming with. I don't hear a lot of people saying like, I want to meditate to cure my cancer, but you do hear that actually sometimes. And more of the time it's about, meditation is going to make my pain go away. I have chronic pain, and I've heard that, mindfulness is helpful for pain. So, what do I need to how do I meditate so that I don't feel pain?
Hmm.
And so there's a lot of needing to, course correct there. That's not actually necessarily what the purpose of this practice is. You may experience, reduction in pain or blood pressure, or, or sleep better, but if we're approaching it from this attitude of, you know, fixing ourselves or changing ourselves, or that we're not okay, as we are, there's going to be a limit to how much benefit that we get. So, um, really just trying to create a ground for compassion above all else, um, for self love, for body acceptance, um, and looking at the narratives that we have around illness and aging, and, all kinds of physical challenges, and the narratives around that not being okay.
Hmm.
Um, and really working with those narratives as well to bring, more healing on an emotional level and a spiritual level to whatever, that patient's experience is. um, and then there is use in more targeted, ways of, if someone's experiencing pain, bringing mindfulness to it, or breathing into it, or bringing compassion to that part of the body. um, so there's a very wide range in how I'm, in the kind of work that I'm doing right
See,
now.
you did it. You did it. That was beautiful. That's beautiful. A lot of nice comments too in the chat. Thanks to Nora for that image of naming the defenses, the armor that is created out of fear can be helpful in being able to release them and put down the armor. Um, I just want to connect it with yesterday. David Ingber led the practice, and just to connect the dots here, also give a really nice, beautiful teaching about equating blessing with being able just to ask the question, "Ma, what is?" And adding the olive to that, which is representing the breath of the spirit, to notice the presence of that, to create a little bit of space. And so what I'm getting from you, Emily, also is the impossibility of avoiding getting tied up in knots completely. We just can't do that, and we have to be grateful that we can't, because that means that our defensive system is in good operating order, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Say thanks. I'm glad you're here, because otherwise, I'd be in trouble. I'd be a sitting duck here. Um, uh, but just to add a little bit of curiosity, the way, and a little bit of compassion, right? And your manner, by the way, I mean, I think everyone really enjoyed, I know I did. I'm getting a sense everyone so enjoyed your manner and in leading and guiding us through the meditation, because it communicated both curiosity and compassion. And that's, if you think about like, well, what works? Why is somebody an effective teacher of this? To me, those are the ingredients that come through. So I want to acknowledge that and thank you for that gift, that you have and that you bring. And just taking a quick look to see if there's any other burning question here. But it was, yeah, thanks, Shelley Nathan, for naming it clear, calm, meaningful altogether. So, and a beautiful way to connect us into this week's Parsha. Naso, which you said is full of stuff,
Yeah.
and full of caring and being aware of what we're carrying and our role in carrying, and grounding it all in this practice of shalom, which you led us in beautifully today. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Great
you.
to have you, and I look forward when you come back soon. Again, thanks to all of you for your emunah, your dependability, and just showing up and being here through all the ebbs and flows of the pandemic and the challenges that we face today in Israel and Palestine that Emily named, and providing this container of safety and a place to breathe. Thanks to you, Adi, and we hope to see you all tomorrow to sit into Shabbat with Cantor Careth Spencer Shapiro. Thanks, everyone. Be